Welcome back, my butterfly kaleidoscope, to part 2 of the Dollar Tree's crochet amigurumi donut review. So at the end of my last video, my camera died. I did not realize it died when it died, so guys, I do apologize, but I have finished the pattern, used their yarn, all of the things. So real quick, I'm just going to tell you the positives and negatives. I'm not going to read it till after I do my version of their pattern with my choice of yarn, right? So first things first, the positives is that they do give you more than enough yarn, and that yarn is pretty good quality. If I having to guess, it may be the Premier. If I just had to guess off the top of my head, I don't know that for a fact, but it doesn't split too bad. Every once in a while there was one little, flub up somewhere. So I don't think, but I think that was more about the operator than it was the yarn itself. The only one I didn't have extra yarn was the brown, but the pink, both pinks, I had leftovers. So I find that as a very positive trait for this, that they had a good quality yarn, because this is marketed towards beginners. And guys, for a beginner, like, you definitely need to have a yarn that's not going to be frustrating too much on the, so that they don't get frustrated and just quit. So I will say that was a positive in their direction. Now, they did not put enough stuffing in there. Not enough stuffing. So if it were me, I would prep to have more stuffing, because I don't think you're going to have enough with this pattern. So that is a negative, because that didn't quite meet. Now, I will say they only gave one set of eyes, so they didn't give you any backup in case something broke, and that can happen from time to time. So there's that. They gave you enough of the black little yarn to do your smiley face, however it turns out for you. So you have that. When it came to the instructions, I did like the way that they had the chains and the stitches together, all up here, so that you kind of knew what you were doing. I do like the photos. The problem is the photos and the, you have to have both the photos and the instructions to kind of figure it out. I say that because I have some corrections I'm going to make, and you'll see later in this video. Because, yeah, it just, the way that it was written, it almost feels like it wasn't written for somebody in English, and that's caused a bit of a problem. And I say this as somebody who does speak multiple languages. I just don't feel like it was written in English initially, and so it has trouble translating and didn't translate well. But now to do the same pattern with my own yarn, so that we can see how we feel about this pattern after. I don't think I'm gonna like the pattern any better, but like I said, we are going to discuss the pros and cons. So I am going to I'm going to use my Minikins Premier, and I'm going to make a chocolate pink donut. That's what we're going to make this time. And so it does say with the yarn, work into 22 chains. Basically that means chain 22. So, and I'm using a 3.5 dot crochet hook. Come on. Okay, mannequins, why are you splitting so bad over here? I think that piece I messed up trying to pull out of the skein, so give me a second. There we go. Now we're going to chain 22, 3, so we got 22, and we're going to slip stitch into here. All right, now you're going to chain 1, hold up. Okay, so right now I've worked with mannequins before, loved it. This brown is being real splitty on me. I don't know why. All right. So we got a chain, and then this is a single crochet, and I like this. The chain doesn't count in this situation, so we're going to do a, like I said, why are you splitting like this? This makes no sense to me. You are not doing this. Your pink ones, I know for a fact, aren't like this, or at least they weren't when I started using them the other day, so they shouldn't today, hopefully. So we do a single crochet, and then we do 2 single crochets. We do an increase, and you do that on around on this first row. Now, I always find these rows a little bit more finicky because they are your foundations, and when you do a join, you can't quite do the clean edge that I like the most by working in the back bumps as well. So I'm just, again, I'm trying to sort of follow the pattern, but also with a few of my little corrections. That's not one I feel like would be fair to the pattern. So let's see. See, now it's not causing me problems. So I don't know what was going on with that first little piece of this yarn. Other than I'm a right-handed crocheter, but that's a whole nother story. And guys, I know my voice is really rough. I apologize. It has nothing to do with microphones. It has everything to do with my own voice. Yesterday at the fair took a lot out of me, so it just is what it is at this point. So There's one. Two, one, two, and you're going to slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet. Do not slip stitch into the chain. Now you're going to chain one, and it's going to be 2 double crochet or single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then an increase. So I like to go back here. Okay, why are we being inky, guys? We do chain. Hold up, it's split somewhere and it's causing the problem. So single crochet in that first same stitch as the chain one, single crochet in the next stitch, then 2 double crochet in the next stitch. So it's single crochet twice, single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then you do 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and you're going to do that on around. I don't know what is wrong with this brown, guys. I feel like I got a bad bunch of this yarn because it's usually not this slitty on me. Because I have used mannequins for other things. I'm actually making one of the premier patterns that's a project for my niece, and I am that is a little toy, and I guess I've used some of the pink before, so I'm a little confused about why it's acting this way. I don't know if I just got a bad batch or what, which is highly unusual for me. We're almost there. I said it's fixing itself as I put it into the project, but I don't know what's going on there. It kind of frustrates me a little bit, but you know, it is what it is. And then after we do this row, we have 4 rows of just doing single crochet in every stitch around. Two, 4, okay, I need to get some water real quick, guys. Finally found the needle from the kit. It flipped up onto a blanket I made up here, that I've got up here, and blended right in because it's the exact same shade of pink. By the way, the reason I'm using a 3.5 millimeter hook is that is close to what looks like the size that they were using in their kit without actually telling me. So, but when I lined it up with the other hook, this looks like it was the best or most appropriate size, because with 3 it looked a little too much. With a 4 it was too small. It was bigger than the hook that they gave me. So at the end of the day, I think 3.5 is our actual size. Didn't look like it was a 3.75. So we will see. And one of the things I like about Minikins yarn, and why I wanted to try it for this, is because you can wash it. It is a 50% cotton, 50% acrylic blend. And so if you're going to make something that might be, it's just a toy that might get dirty, that kind of thing, definitely want to use something that can get washed. And this is one of those. So does not go in the dryer because of the piece, the plastic piece I put in it, and the eyes, but it can go in the wash. So that's 4. We're gonna do 5. And I know I'm a little bit random today, guys. It's just the day it is. But I really wanted to come on here and do these with you, so. And I'm going to do it the exact same way, like put the same sides together that I put together in the previous one. However, I would say this one, I feel like you might be able to get away with doing the opposite sides too, which would give you a little bit more stitch definition. Because like the thing about doing this side of outside is it does create more of like a fabric feel, whereas this side is very much more like look at me feel, is how I feel about it. I know some people like my take on that, some people don't, but it is what it is. I'm just gonna go ahead and get that little piece out so we don't keep causing problems. I think that's not was part of not helping. And you know, I was going to use pink sprinkles on this one too, but I think what I'm going to do is actually, I haven't started that one. Have I? No. Okay. We're going to do green mint looking sprinkles on top of this one. You know what? With the sale going on, I did not check to see if Minikins were on sale. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on row 6 now. The thing about amigurumi is you do the single stitch and it can get very meditative real quick. When it comes to just going around and around and around and around. So one more row, and then we can fasten this off, and we will have our chocolate part of our donut done. I know, guys, I know I'm being kind of quiet today, and if you want to skip to the parts where I continue, feel free. I am trying to make this in real time, so I am, yeah. So I think that's 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. So now we're going to fasten off. And the chocolate part of our donut is done. Alright, so, and that is like completely done, so it's going back into my mannequin basket. Next up, we're going to take our pink. So, okay, what is going on here? Again, another kind of yarn barf baby, but it's okay. We're figuring it out. There it is. Now, it keeps getting tangled up right here, so I want to figure out what's going on so I can not have to deal with it once I start crocheting. Okay, we are going to snip off that end because it kind of had a rough start too, and we're going to do again chain 22 and create another round just like that, just in pink. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. And then you are going to calmly slip stitch chain 1, two, and then you do 1, and then you do an increase. So 1, and an increase. Like I said, always these first rows when you're working into a chain like this can be a little tricky. Increase. And you slip stitch to the top of the single crochet. And now you do, I think that's the same size. And now we do a single crochet, single crochet, increase, two, on to our rows of just doing single crochets all the way around. So this is row 4. So yeah, you know what, I'm going to turn you guys just a little bit more this way so I don't have to feel like I'm pulling so hard to get in frame. Oh, and if you are new here and you see the way I'm holding my hook, I like to explain to people that when I was learning to write in school, it was one of those weird years where they had 1 to 2 years where they taught kids how to hold their pencil like this. And like I said, I know it's weird, but I know a lot of people my age specifically who do this. And so it's the way I hold my crochet hook. I say that to say, however you hold your crochet hook is your own, and you're able to enjoy it, and you know, whatever is comfortable for you, use that way of holding your hook. Kind of the same thing with how you hold your yarn. Hold it in a way that is comfortable for you. For me, this is what works to get the right kind of tension on things. So I prefer to use it this way. So we're on to row 5. Mm. So we're on to row 6. Mm-mm. All right, that's number 6. So one more for our pink, and then we can start assembly. And I'm going to be assembling a little different than the pattern. I am going to, I know they sewed it together, etc. That's not really how I tend to secure things, and I want to make sure this thing is secure, so we're going to secure things my way. As always. So we've done our 7. We're going to leave that for now. And we're going to get some safety eyes. I think I have some in here that will work. 1 and 2. And let's get the backs out of here. 1. Here it is. Come on. Oh, come on, you little thing. Oh, donuts. Okay, here we go. And like always, we're going to put a little bit of backing on. For these, it really just needs to be a little bit of backing. It does not need to be a lot. Okay, so we are going to place the eyes. There's kind of right in here. And we're going to place the other one right here. Doesn't really give you instructions for placing them either, but that's how I feel. Now, it tells you to sew the mouth on later. I personally like to sew the mouth on right about now, because and I'm going to do it a little differently than I did in the last one. Oh yeah, right here. We're going to just do this. We're going to come here. We're going to here. Then I'm going to go put the thread back in. Now, I am going to sew on the Whatchamahoochits last, the sprinkles. When it comes to the mouth, black yarn does not hide as well to me, and I want to make sure that I've got this mouse sewn. Well, I do sew it loose so that when you stuff it, you've got room to grow. You do want to do that. Now I am going to trim it just to make life easier on me as I do the rest of this. Now then, we're going to take the other side of my pink yarn, and when you put it together, and we are going to sew this part together. But to kind of help anchor it, I'm going to go over here and just kind of get these two together so that it gives me an anchoring point. And then I'm going to take this side of my pink, and I'm going to do kind of a slip stitch join. I don't know if it'll be full slip stitch join or not, but we are going to try to do a little bit of one. Don't know, I'll need this much, but I'd rather have more than not enough. So we are putting a knot on this. Like I said, this is where it kind of gets fun a little bit. So we're going 1, 2 over. So make sure we're 1, 2 over. 1, 2. Pull it up. Trying to make sure I've got the right one to my yarn, okay? Don't want to get the other side yarn as we're doing this, so getting started is a little finicky like with everything else, but once we get it going, we'll be good. It should have come up through the hole in the yarn. You know what? We just started. We can just do that to make this smoother. There we go. like I said, I just feel like it makes a more secure joint than if you're doing straight sewing, which is why I am willing to do this really finicky work. And I get this is probably not a beginner move, but it definitely is a much more secure joining. And so I definitely recommend it. Because who knows, this might be something that sits somewhere, and this might be something that my niece plays with, you know? And I want to make sure things are secure. Now, she's 4, so she's old enough to be able to have things with safety eyes. And she knows better than to put anything like this in her mouth. In fact, she's the kind of child that will sit there and judge the other children if they do something like that. She'll tell them no too. But like, bless her heart, she definitely has that what are you doing face. Kind of getting into rhythm, except for when it hangs up on the brown a little bit. But see, we're getting there. Okay, hold up. Something's not right there. Something got splitty and started to be weird. So we're gonna undo the weird, make it not weird. So, if you are not familiar with mannequins, they are a cotton acrylic blend, 50-50. And then I do like them. I think for Amigurumi, they're really great. I don't have a lot of colors yet, so I do feel like they're in my to get more. And I didn't see that they were on sale in the super sales that are going on with Premiere, but I need to check in on that to be sure. Okay, a couple stitches have come out from that top row, and we will fix that as we go before we get started on actually seaming the outside together. But I'd rather a few come out there than elsewhere. Okay, and then we're gonna do one here. Okay. There we go. There's the pink coming through, and then we are going to do what I typically do in all of my slip stitch joins is I go into the slip stitch from the first one and into the last, so you kind of have that right there. And now we can come in and fasten this off. Pull through. And there's the two pieces. And again, I normally would just leave them in, not even cutting them, but because of what we're working on and how finicky it can get, I am going to snip it just so that we have a little bit more room to work with. But now that is done, so I can pull that side out and roll that back up around the ball so we don't keep causing problems with each other. You go here. So are you the end piece? Yeah. You are not. You are all tangled up around it. So we're going to do this on the outside. Tuck that in. Go back to using my center pull. I'm going to go back and complete these stitches that I had previously. That came out as I was working on the inside. Make allowance for that, but don't be like panicked or upset by it. We got it, okay? Now then, we are going to push the brown through the hole around so that we have a chocolate donut looking structure. And we're going to start doing the same kind of seam. But I think I'm going to go around this direction this time because of just the way the yarn is. And I'm going to start right here. So we're going to come through and slip stitch, and we're going to come through the next stitch, top and bottom, slip stitch. Now yes, does that mean there's going to be an issue kind of when we get to where we have it at the end? It'll be a little tight, but it's easily doable. And we're going to pull through slip stitch, just like anytime you're working with something this size, especially if you're somebody like me and whose hands are bigger. Yes, it's going to be a little finicky. Finicky is not a bad thing. It just is. It's a just is thing. You get through the top one here, the top one over here, and you pull through. Why are we pulling it apart like that? I don't know, but we'll take care of it. And see, that just creates it a little bit more securely. And I like I said, this is probably my preferred method of joining anything, because I feel like you can be a little bit more confident that the stitches are going to hold. And that if something doesn't, someone can't just pull out a knot and this just unravel. So now that we've got a little bit, just like we did on the last one, we are going to start stuffing. And I like the Premier Fiber, Morning Glory Premier Fiber polyfill. It's just my preference. Everybody has theirs. And we're gonna just kind of do that. Now, to actually get it in here, let's see, we're coming in from the back side on this. And you could use a stuffing tool or whatever. I prefer using my hands because again, you can kind of shape it as you go. And make sure you got it fully filled so it doesn't have that weird lump anywhere. Okay. Now, for right now, that's pretty good for a start. And continue to do a few more of the slip stitch joins. I can understand fear of losing your job. Definitely like this version a lot better, I think. Like this yarn better though. Okay. I think it'll shape up more once we get more of the stitches done. So, I know this is can be a really long video, but we're almost there. Yeah, it's just a little too full too soon, but so we're going to do 2 more slip stitches and stuff a little bit more under those eyes, because you don't want to be too far away from the eyes when you're stuffing, when you have that backing on it. Okay. See, we're getting a nice little donut here. And the reason I like this one a little bit more is you see how much better defined the stitches are, and how, okay, come on, let me in there. There we go. Well, I think. Bolus under there. Piece by piece we're getting there, guys, but I like how this one's turning out. That's where it's supposed to snow. And now we've got the donut together. We can fasten it off. Well, there we go. I like to do an extra little knot. Yes, that creates a little ridge, but guess what? It also creates a little extra security. I like to bring my hook in, draw the yarn in and under. Do that way, and then know too much. Alright, so we got this little donut done from our mannequins. So now I'm going to put the pink one's label back on. Oh, and just so you know what colorways we're using, the chocolate color is brunette, the pink that I used on top is ballerina, and then the one that we are going to be using for our sprinkles is mint. So let's get into the mint. Oh, no. There. Alright, let's figure out. I think this should be enough. Slight bit before, kind of cut strand of your yarn. Pick out wherever you're going to start your sprinkles from. I think I'm going to start here. I'm going to do a big one. And you do the slip stitching. Now remember, leave it kind of loose so that you can still see the sprinkle on top. Because if you do it too tight, it pulls in too much and you can't quite see the sprinkle. And then just have fun placing it randomly. Except I just pulled this string out of my thread. And you keep doing this on around. Can I get through it though? Alright guys, and you just keep sewing these sprinkles on. I'm real close to being done with that. I'm probably wanting to get done sooner rather than later because I've made some really big stitches in the last few seconds. I think I'm going to keep this one. I don't know about that one, but I think I'm going to keep this one. The one made with my adjustments. I think it looks sweet. We're almost there. One more stitch to make, and then we will fasten this bad boy off, and I will give you my final review of this kit. Alright, and you're going to make a knot that you are going to pull a little tight, not too tight because you don't want to totally mess up your stitches. Then you're going to do that. And then whatever hook you want to use, you can, and you're going to tuck it in. And there we go. So this is their version of the pattern. And this is my version. Used with Premier Minikins. And yeah, so what did I think? So as a whole, the kit gave you everything that they said that they were going to give you. Nothing was missing, so that was good. They did give you a hook, but the hook did not have what it was on it, so that was my one concern. I think I figured out for sure it's a 3.5, but not a big fan of not having the size of the hook on the hook, especially for a beginner kit, so that way the beginner can learn what hook they're using and whether they like that size or not. Two, the photo part of the instructions was really good. However, as was the description of the stitches, the actual instructions took some work that you had to know how to crochet. Like, you had to have been doing it a hot minute to know what they were meaning. So on that side, I'm going to give this kit a 2.5. A 2. I'm going to give it a 2 because one, you do have everything and you can make it, and it is good. It's just not beginner good. And like I said, the yarn was pretty good quality by comparison. Like I said, everything pretty much worked. It just, the one big complaint is you kind of had to interpret the instructions, and if you didn't know, if it really was your first time ever crocheting, it was going to be a little bit of an issue with this. So that's why I'm rating this set as a 2. But overall, not bad. Not bad at all. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed seeing me make both of these. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. And hopefully it won't be as long, guys. I'll try to do a little bit better. All right. Love y'all. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.